Alright guys, it's Shalom with the Paradox Gaming Network, and today we had an Ashes of Creation live stream, which means I'm going to do my usual Ashes of Creation live stream update. And the big part of today's video is going to be on this video proof that we got on a couple of the things that they've been talking about. Now we'll get to that video proof in just a couple of minutes, but the first thing I want to say is this format they used for today's live stream, and I'm not going to be talking about everything, so I highly recommend you click on the link in the description below and head over to the live stream itself. I want to say this was a much better format. They've used this format a couple of times in the past. I can think of at least one time in the past they've used this format, and it was very well received by the community. My only suggestion is if you're going to go longer than an hour and you're going to do a Q&A session, make sure to get those questions ahead of time from the community. And the reason why is a question thread on the forum allows for the good questions to get through to Steven. Not that there was anything wrong with today's questions. I think every question today was really well done. So props to Toast for filtering out the good questions. But I do want to say that a forum thread allows the community, the senior members of the community, the people who've been around for a while, the content creators, it allows everybody to respond to all of those questions. So just because your question didn't get answered during the live stream, it means that the community can direct people to the answers they want or they need. So that would be the only suggestion I make. Other than that, I think everyone agrees that this should become the minimum standard. Maybe go to the stream 2 months ago and blend those two. And that really needs to become your floor. You shouldn't dip below today's live stream again as far as quality, or it's going to be seen as backward progression. I do want to talk about a couple of bits and pieces on updates, and the first one is the Apocalypse update. They are currently in stress testing. They're testing account creation, they're testing population on the screen. They talked about somebody was doing testing and having a lot of different characters loaded on the screen. If you remember, APOC had to come down because they had to completely rebuild the back end. I know a lot of you don't like the idea of Apocalypse. You just wish they'd get to the MMORPG. Remember, one of the big things right now is Apocalypse is going to be used to determine, are we going to have fights of 250 versus 250 or fights of 500 versus 500? So even if you don't like Apocalypse, realize it is serving a purpose. Now, when it comes to the progress, they didn't give us any benchmarks. So we heard phrases like substantial. We've heard statements like leaps and bounds, and that's okay. Having been following Ashes of Creation for a couple of years now, and this is the first time in recent months, probably about 6 months, they've pulled the curtain back and allowed anything to be seen. I would expect APOC's return to be sooner rather than later. Now, I don't have any inkling of a date, but I think we're getting close. Just the way the verbiage is, the way Steven was animated, the way he was hyped, I think we're close. I also want to give people an update on the referral system. I know this is a sticking point for a lot of people. There are people who are like, well, I want my friends to come over, but I can't refer them. I will tell you that it is currently in work. It was what went into work on the webpage after the forums. There are a lot of changes being reworked. Number one, the biggest one is so that it's functional, but also they want to have a code field instead of it just being a link for people to follow. That way, when people are making their account, they drop your code in and you're more certain that you're going to get credit for the referral. And then Steven wants to make sure that we get more detailed reports as the person with the referral code. You want to be able to do a little bit more tracking, see the progress. I will tell you, Steven and I have had a couple of conversations about what a good referral program looks like, what a good referral system looks like. So when that comes out, I will tell you whether or not the stuff I offered to Steven and the little bit of research I did, whether or not they got acted upon. And of course, as a content creator, I want the referral system to work properly because it puts money in my pocket that I then give back to my community. So I have a vested interest in seeing this work right. So I will definitely let you know if what I suggested to Steven and researched for him fell on deaf ears or if it did get implemented. Now, today's live stream was really important to me, and I know some of you are like, but we didn't see mechanics, we didn't see the MMO, and that's fine, you're right. I'm not going to try to justify any of that. If you're angry, if you're mad as hell about what you saw and it didn't satisfy you, then hopefully you can realize that we finally have some meat on the table. I use this all the time. I say it's great that you're working on like the baked potato and the vegetables, but you didn't put any meat on the table several months in a row. Time and time we've heard graphics improvements are coming, animation improvements are coming. The game kind of didn't look great back in December. It didn't really fulfill what you thought an Unreal Engine 4 imagery should be. And what we heard was this is just first pass. This is first pass graphics. This is first pass animations. So the truth is where do you believe? What do you believe? Do you take it at face value? Well, at this point in Ashes of Creation's development, talk is cheap. And you can keep saying it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's going to be great. It's going to be magnificent. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to be visually stunning. But talk is cheap. So today they finally showed us a little bit of it. So what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes is I'm going to splice in a couple of their demonstrations so that you can see them. I'm going to leave their audio in, but I will remind you the link is in the description below. Some of the audio might not make sense without the right context before or after the clip I show, and then we'll be right back and we're gonna dig into a couple of bits and pieces.
Another video for us. We have a new effects person who has joined the team, and he's been making some updates on things. Which is exciting.
That's Jim Sanders' work. He is a phenomenal artist, and he has also a very sharp technical mind, and so he's been able to both improve the kind of fidelity of our effects, give them a unified look, and also improve their performance. So, I mean, you'll see that some of these abilities here will be darkness or the miasma arrow, and you'll see the tentacles coming out.
Yeah.
And this effect looks so much better than our previous effect, and yet it is far more optimized.
Yes, it is far more optimized, and not only that, but these effects again are kind of first pass. They're still going to get additional passes before the MMORPG, where we'll take into consideration, in an MMORPG you're going to have potentially 500 players on the battlefield casting these types of effects, and we don't want them to be very explosive or overwhelming. Yeah. Exactly. Not only probably play some of the building stuff.
Let's first play. I think our first video that we have is the oceans and the waves and the grass details. So. We're showing that, and we can kind of talk over this.
Yeah. So there's So like I said, there's the kind of ocean beach shader that's kind of still a work in progress, but yeah, we got those waves are kind of coming in. We got the sand surface, goes from like a wet, shiny,
so it looks very realistic. It's so cool.
I mean, the key point here when you guys are looking at this video is this is all in game. Okay, right now this is in the APOC level, but again, the APOC and the MMO are synonymous. They are the same.
Yeah, all this tech is stuff that we're is all being moved over.
Absolutely.
I mean, technically we are using it in the MMO. It's just but right now we're showcasing it in.
And this is some grass stuff. I think that it was Tad working on the grass stuff.
Tad's
the rolling wind in the grass. I love that.
Yeah, so you got like the regular grass motion that he put together, and then he basically put like this sort of pulse wave that kind of runs through it, kind of like a big kind of wind wave that's blowing through it. And
I noticed people saying, what's the type of rig we'll need to run this at this type of beauty? The great thing about UE4 and what's being done from an optimization standpoint on the environment team is that this stuff will run on, you don't need a supercomputer to run this stuff and look this good. I mean, it is something that...
Well, Tad's grass is like actually way more optimized than what we had in the
previous
before.
Grass. Yeah, exactly.
It's like there's not a lot of alpha.
Looks better and performs better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we moved from sort of like a split body weapon system to having a full body root motion where the animation is basically driving the player's movement. And so what that does is it kind of gives you that sense that you are carrying a weapon and that weapon has weight and that your momentum is driving you forward. All of those things kind of help to give that sense that you are in the game rather than on top of the game, which is kind of how the system felt before. You'll see that we also have some new impact effects and a little bit of camera shake there to kind of really highlight the fact that you are making contact with this other player.
Right. And all of this goes towards, as we begin to implement kind of the hybrid combat system in Ashes of Creation, the MMORPG, we want to take into account some of the designs that we have for weapon progression, allowing players to kind of dictate certain types of skills and or passive abilities that might be present on weapons.
All right, so the big thing that I took from that was better results with more optimization. But what does that mean? It means you're getting more with less. You're getting more performance for less system resources. Now, one thing we've heard from the community a lot of times is that the game is too flashy, it's too showy, it's too much. We've also heard people say, I don't think I'm going to be able to run it. I'm going to be having to run it on low. Well, they have said, and they repeated it today, you're going to be able to set your setting for how flashy the game is. So if you're on a little bit older of a computer, you're going to be able to turn those settings down to get performance, but not necessarily quality. But what I will say to people is you got to meet Intrepid halfway. If your computer is 5, 6, 7 years old, you got to start to think to yourself, man, my computer came out before Unreal Engine 4. Some of that onus is on me. I got to upgrade my hardware. Now, does that mean you need to go out and drop $2,000 on a brand new top-of-the-line monster rig? No, of course not. If you can make a little improvement here, a little improvement there. Also, I recommend to wait until the game is out in alpha, beta, before you start changing your hardware setups. But yeah, if you think your computer's going to run the game bad because you've got a really old computer, some of that's on you. We heard that they're doing the best they can to get better performance with less resources, but there's only so much they can do. Also want to remind people that the things you're seeing, these are not end-game looks. These are work-in-progress looks. And so that means they're going to get another pass. You're going to see the animations get another pass, a second pass, a third pass, to make them as good as they can. So keep that in mind. Also want to talk about the combat real quick. Jeff said today that the combat was too floaty. I tend to agree with that. The combat did feel, the melee combat did feel a little awkward and odd in Apocalypse. And that's part of the reason why the game has been down for so many months. They had to take it down in order to work on the back end. While they have it down, while they have it all opened up, they're fixing all those things. So what you're getting is a reworked melee combat experience. Now I want people to remember, Apocalypse exists in order to get the action combat right. If they can't get the action combat right, they'll come to a decision point of, do we keep the action combat or do we go down to just tab combat? Now I've talked about it a couple of times in a couple other videos. If you have tab combat's going to be tab combat, and people are always going to think tab combat is either good or it's horrible. But tab combat can get carried by 8, 9 other good game systems. Bad action combat is always going to be bad action combat. If the action combat doesn't feel good, it will turn people off no matter how good the other systems are. So keep that in mind. They're retooling melee combat for us, the players. So yeah, it sucks that we got to give them time, but they're going to be really the first company to ever get a hybrid system of tab action right. If they're working on the back end anyway, they might as well, divert resources to make sure the combat system works well on top of that. Now, I'm going to say this is going to be one of my shorter recap videos. I'm going to be honest, the video today, there was a lot of hype, a lot of spin, and that's not a bad thing. It's not the route I would have gone, but I'm going to be honest, I don't want to be jaded. Right now, I think today's video or today's live stream was very good. Put meat on the table. It got the ship righted 2 or 3 degrees, a little bit more on target. Steven was being Steven, and in the past, Steven being Steven was one thing that I talked a lot about, that it was great to see his passion about his progress, the progress of his company, the progress of the studio, onboarding people, working on the actual physical new studio. So I don't want to be jaded and take anything away from that. People are either going to have liked the live stream, loved the live stream, or hated the live stream. You don't need me to put my spin on top of that. I pulled out the important parts. What I do want to do is I want to give the monthly recap scorecard. So Intrepid's aiming for a weekly update. So this month we got a Hippograph blog. We got the Know Your Nodes on economic blogs, or economic nodes. We got the Dev Diary video on weapon creation, and we got the live stream. So 4 weeks in the month, the way the dates lined out, 4 weeks in the month, 4 things. We didn't get one in the week of the 12th, but that's okay. They're aiming for it. But since they really in the last couple of days banged out a couple of bits and pieces, I think they're okay. I think they're meeting the expectation. What we got upcoming is we got the creative director's letter in June, and we've got the Divine Node blog in June. We're also hoping to see that staff page get updated. I think, if I recall correctly, they said 7 new position hires that are starting, so we should see some of those on the website. Remember, they say they have about 60 plus people working on it. They're also bringing on 7 new engineers who all have a start date before the end of July. So that's good. That's positive progress. Bad for them. They're losing all their meeting space. They lost their couches. They are crammed in there at the studio. So I wish Steven all the best in getting the new physical studio location done. I also want to talk about the store change out real quick. Here are the current cosmetics that are up on the store. They've been there for about 2 months. They were supposed to change out. They brought on a new artist. So what we're seeing is the next month's cosmetics will be up on 5 June at 1100 Pacific. So if you want those other cosmetics, make sure you get them before then. And that is it for today, guys. Short recap video. I wanted to highlight a couple of the important parts. I don't want to dive into the weeds and get into the jaded part again. If you want to talk more, I'm Jalon #0001 on Discord. You can find me on the official Discord, or I run my own Discord if you want to talk somewhere a little bit offline. I stream 3 times a week, even if I'm not streaming Ashes, because nobody can stream Ashes right now. You got an Ashes question, you want to get it answered live, you can always pop in for a few minutes and then bounce. And as always, big thanks to my sponsors. These guys, crazy people. They give me money for what I do, and I don't really want it, so I give it back away to my community. Down below in the description, you'll see a gift card giveaway. Go ahead and click on that. I'm going to be giving away gift cards at the end of June. And that's it, guys. I am looking forward to the next couple of bits and pieces for Ashes so I can keep doing these recaps. And if you have any questions, ask them down below. Make sure you check out ashes101.com. As we get more information, I will be reworking those articles, but I have tons of videos up there right now. Anything you could possibly want to know about the game, I probably have covered. You guys take care, and I will see you when the next piece of Ashes stuff comes out.
Hey, where are you going? You're not done yet. See these videos? There's videos up here to watch. You gotta go over here. Hit the chibi. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the webpage. And I'll see you guys on Twitch.